Well, probably the first thing and the most controversial thing will be my chief deputy realignment to 29, as all the other chief deputies for the electeds are at 29s. I'm not sure when they moved those positions around, if that was after I had become appointed or if that was prior to that. Frank's nodding his head, so that was prior to me. And so I did not realize that the chief deputy at the clerk's office was at a lower range than the others. So I am looking to readjust that and get her up to a 29 where the other ones are. She's the one who pulled me out of the audit findings and helped me through that process, and I really think she deserves to be a 29.
Has that come to us already, or come to you for this?
I think I got a copy.
Yes.
I had requested a reclassification that was denied.
Okay, we'll pick this up, if you don't mind, in a regular briefing.
Okay.
And we'll talk about this on our next
Okay.
briefing. Good. Can we get me a copy of it?
Absolutely. So that was number one. Legal publications, I requested the same amount, but I wanted to let you know that the Clerks Association has requested a priority bill to the legislature for making the publication costs, giving them back to the Attorney General's office, because it doesn't really seem like we should be paying for their publications. So I'm hoping that that will be a savings of $13,000. So I have budgeted for it because I don't want to anticipate not having that responsibility, but it would sure be one of those things that would be really nice too. And that's one of the things when we have our legislators here that I would like to talk to them about. So you saw the hearings totals from Superior Court Administration. Every single one of those hearings has to have a clerk, so we're in court all the time. What she didn't have figures on were the amount of ex parte matters, which is now we have 2 ex parte calendars a day in addition to our regular court sessions, so which we have clerks in court with those also. You know, just more time in the courtroom, which means there's less people in the office. So I appreciate the ability, the extra person you gave me at the beginning of this year has helped tremendously. We hired 2 new people at the beginning of September, and so they're going to training next week, and that will be helpful to have them more trained on working the front counter and assisting people. So, which I haven't really budgeted for. I haven't budgeted any travel money in the past, and so I'm requesting that in 2020 for trainings, not only for the new people, but for some of our senior people.
Travel for trainings.
For trainings, correct.
We've been pretty universal on that, haven't we?
How much?
2.
Okay. Yeah, let's, I think given Jennifer's email to us earlier today about our position, let's maybe hold. I don't have a problem with it, but I want to make sure we're all tracking the same way on the totals, but that would certainly be.
Okay. And passports. The great news on passports is we have the new 2020 ID, real ID, coming next year, and so we'll probably be swamped with passports applications. I'm already 1,200 over budget, over revenues for my proposed 2019 amounts for photos, so that's paid for itself for sure. So yeah, and not only are we getting the new passport people, but we're getting renewals, and they'll come in and get their passport photos taken with us. So October 1st, I think you have to have your real ID. And that's pretty much most of my changes. I'm sure Jennifer will have, I've asked for $1,000 increase in office supplies. The file folders have increased significantly for the cost, so I'm trying to balance out that. And overtime, I'm requesting overtime again for $2,500 for those that have their comp time at the max again.
What did you have last year?
Last year it was 0.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. it
Because he
was-
said again, that's,
Right, I requested it last year, didn't get it.
okay.
I have paid out some, which can be absorbed with my,
What did you pay out, do you know?
two. So far, I've paid out $2,533. But with the change in the chief deputy's position, she went from end of the range to the beginning of the range, so she's not, it'll absorbed. Be absorbed.
Commissioner, it sounds like you have something.
I'm trying to figure it out, because if it is, you know, an actual cost that's happening, let's see, I do know that last year was a very interesting year, so I'm not sure that maybe the full 2,000 would apply.
Right.
But
and
maybe,
yeah.
maybe 1,000 of it would for continuing on for year to year.
For the OT?
Yeah.
So instead of 25, down to 1,000?
Maybe 1,000 or 1,500, maybe 1,000, but put them in as maintenance.
I know that the auditor's office also asked for OT for their financial services, and they don't have any either, so that's something we should probably revisit.
But you think they have, one of the reasons why I'm calling it maintenance in my brain is they have a history right now of doing it. This last year, like I said, was pretty crazy, so I can, apparently we're gonna need some in there. And still be maintenance, I don't know, that's gonna be the same as the auditor.
They have a history of using comp time, and I think probably giving away some time possibly, I don't know for sure, but yeah, I know that that's something that's been asked for, so I just wanted to put that out there, that they're asking for that as well.
Thank you. What do you think?
We may want to hold then and just have a broader conversation about overtime and comp time. I don't know what-
The contract is coming up also, so it might be able to.
Any insight on that, Frank, on that element of it, or?
Which contract is this?
AFSCME.
AFSCME? Oh, it'll be the same that we're talking about with the other contracts.
What was the, Jennifer, what was the auditor's?
Their ask was 10,000, so a little higher.
We can just give everybody 1,000 and call it.
I can see how 1,000 of this would be just fine. I
Yeah.
haven't seen the other books,
Yeah,
you know, as maintenance.
yeah.
And still keep the other 15 as PLR.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I could do that.
1,000
For maintenance, but keep the other 15 as PLR.
Okay.
In case we decide we want to do something else at the end.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I didn't have much. Have you taken the time? We just had this conversation on a reclassification with another department. And I read through yours just now, and one of the things that happens is, it's not just you, it's everybody assumes that, you know, we put more work on and stuff, that's reclass. Reclass is a very specific thing. My recommendation would be, go and visit Frank and ask him, is there things that may be or may not be that, tools that you could use to be able to justify a reclassification? And, you know, he'll help you if it's possible, if it's not, it's not. But in reading what you put forward, it's not much different than what we just seen.
Right.
And we've had to say no to those. But there may be a possibility that at least one of them will be coming back because they'll learn to make it work within the frameworks of what a reclass is. You gotta remember, we give a reclass on that, we have a reclass everywhere. For the same, everybody has more work, everybody. So it's,
Well, I'm just trying to make it equitable.
No, I get that.
mean, with the other positions that are considered chief deputies. I realize that the previous chief deputy didn't necessarily qualify for a 29, but I believe this one does,
so,
so.
and each time we did that for other ones that I can remember, there was extra, not extra work, extra duties that were put on. That may be the case here, and it may be in how the argument is framed.
Okay.
That's why my recommendation would be that you sit with Frank and just ask him to help you. I found when we ask him to help, he helps. And, you know, I'll use Dave for an example. Dave came to us with quite a few of them. And he kept thinking he had his way to go, and when we talked to him about it and asked him to sit down and work, lo and behold, all the ones that got turned down, he got more than half, didn't he? Because he found a way to work them and make it work.
One thing I wanted to bring to your attention, those classifications were negotiated the last set of negotiations. So it wasn't that it was brought to the board as a reclass and it was dropped down, but rather it was part of the whole negotiation process where those were aligned. And I'm not sure that there was, I don't recall if there was a change in the alignment at the negotiation, but that's when those reclasses or those adjustments, if any, were made, back during the last negotiation.
Negotiation for
For
the,
AFSCME, for the contract.
but this is a non-union position.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
chief deputy.
That's right,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was trying to figure this out, I was lost for a minute.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can, just sit down with and ask him to work with you, to show you how, what a reclass, what is and is not one.
Okay,
And see if you can make the pieces work then.
all right.
Yeah, I thought that's what I was asking. Was this an AFSCME position?
No, this was not an ASME position. The contract that we're negotiating, this coming up is ASME.
Got it. I'm sorry. I thought that was an AFSCME position.
No, this is a non-union position.
So just so we can circle back, so we did 1,000 on the overtime
Okay.
and kept the other half of that as PLR. Gonna have a further discussion about the chief deputy position. So that leaves the supplies and services PLRs. So I wanted to, did we,
And the travel, we're keeping that as a PLR, and everything else then to maintenance besides the chief deputy, the 1,500 and,
So now we're keeping the travel as a PLR? Oh, because
I'm
of-
asking,
oh, because of the other,
to just
yeah,
circle back.
because of the numbers.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to open on mine, so I'll,
Yeah,
it sounds like I'm gonna be very disappointed though, when it gets open.
very really good news at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, maybe I need to get mine earlier in the.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, gotta.
Yeah.
You're getting it all away.
Remember that for next year. I wanna be first.
And then the office supplies, what do we decide on that?
The final.
Yeah,
Yeah, was that actual maintenance? Or is there something different that you're doing or
No,
looking to do?
it's just that the fact that the file folders are, the price is increasing, so
How many folders do we go through?
about 3,000, and we get them pre-labeled, so we don't use staff time to put the labels on them, because we used to do it that way. And it saves some, well, it didn't really save money, because we were paying salaries to do the work that a machine can do really fast.
so maintenance on that.
Well,
I'm good with that, I'm maintenance
Maintenance,
commissioner,
yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the IT trackable equipment of 1,088.
but yeah, you brought down on the other.
Right, so, because I'm new to this budget thing somewhat, most of what equipment I purchase is IT trackables. So they're label printers for our documents, computers, printers, replacement, that kind of thing. And so it's really, should be an IT trackable and not necessarily a small tool and equipment.
So you moved them,
Yes.
maintenance.
Does
Maintenance
that
on
sound
that.
about right?
Yep.
Okay, okay. And then the annual bond renewal, of course, is removed. And the banking fees.
That's a reduction, because I overestimated, partly because last year's banking fees were higher due to the number of night drops that we do. And when we actually take them to the counter, they charge us, they don't charge us, and when I night drop them, they do. So we've been taking them,
And this year, historically, you're gonna be at 4,000 at the end of the year?
yeah.
Okay. And then the other things that we have left are the machine maintenance and the miscellaneous.
Machine maintenance, our date stamp machine is, the time on it is adjusting by itself, not regularly. It's very odd, but it will jump ahead 10 minutes. So, they're aging machines, and so they need to be maintained more often. And he charges me $75 an hour to come maintain them.
And what about that miscellaneous?
The miscellaneous is for training also. I didn't really have a line item for training, so I was told to add it into miscellaneous, my clerk's conferences. I got a scholarship last year, but I'd like to be able to pay for those out of the county money. I have a spring conference and then a summer
And
conference.
all
and
back
then-
the same with that one, this,
So are those two tied together, the travel and the,
Somewhat, yeah.
okay.
Mostly, I would generally pay for my own fuel to get to the conferences, but I'd like to have enough in there to cover the cost of staff traveling to other counties to train.
Okay. Yeah, let's just make a note and revisit it.
Okay. Great. And then on the revenue side, there's a little less than 10,000 increase. You're okay with moving all of that into maintenance? I would assume. Okay. Thank you.
it likes it when you do. Move revenue.
happy.
Little angels come down and sprinkle fairy dust on us.
Cha-ching.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Awesome, thank you. Lisa's